A great change had come upon the world, one beyond natural disasters like shifting tectonic plates or volcanic eruptions. It was the sudden emergence of monsters that pushed humanity toward extinction. These creatures appeared in vast numbers, and their existence was tied to a single source, the Tower. The Tower was a mysterious domain that granted monsters their power and authority. Some called it the Devil's Tower, while others referred to it as God's Tower. For it was said that anyone who could climb it would have their deepest desires fulfilled. Power, wealth, honor. Anything one wished for could be found within. The tower stood at an unfathomable height of 999 floors, ruled by beings that called themselves gods and demons. Governments worldwide attempted to stop people from approaching the tower, fearing the dangers it posed. However, no force on Earth could deter those who sought its promises. Any attempt to prevent challengers from ascending was met with severe punishment. For 5 long years, billions of people had their eyes fixated on the tower, watching as millions of challengers attempted the impossible. Among them were 9 individuals who stood above all others, the 9 stars, the only ones to have reached the 600th floor. Yet, among these legends, one figure stood out. His power was far beyond that of his comrades, making him an unstable force. Eventually, that power consumed him, pushing him into a conflict with the very allies he once fought alongside. His name was feared across the world, the Dark Star, Cha Jinhyuk. Cha Jinhyuk was neither a master nor a superhuman. He was simply a man who had surpassed all limits, claiming the title of the strongest. A powerful necromancer, he wielded the ability to raise an army of undead warriors. Disillusioned by humanity and peace, he craved only power. Declaring that he would use even his comrades as his subjugated beasts, he sought to become the greatest being within the tower. The 9 stars, realizing they had no choice, turned against him. Together, they faced Cha Jinhyuk and his army of the dead, engaging in a battle that shook the tower itself. In the end, they managed to overwhelm him and put an end to his reign. That was the story the world knew. However, the truth was far more sinister. Cha Jinhyuk never betrayed humanity, nor did he betray the 9 stars. It was, in fact, the 9 stars, or rather, 8 of them, that betrayed him. This truth was hidden from the world. A decade passed, and suddenly, he awoke. Lying on a bed, his body drenched in sweat, he bolted upright, screaming, "9 stars, you bastards!" Realization struck him. He was alive. A wicked smile spread across his lips. It worked. At the moment of his death, he had cast a forbidden spell, soul transmission, allowing his soul to transfer into a body with similar physicality to his own. Now, he had returned as memories of his betrayal resurfaced, his rage reignited. He remembered the moment he had confronted them, the moment he had asked, "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" One of them had answered. Paladin Cain Pellin, one of the 9 stars, and Saintess Carmen Pellin, another of their ranks, looked at him without remorse. "You want to know why?" Cain had said, his voice calm, almost amused. "It's simple. You are a one-man army, Jinhyuk. You try to do everything alone. And while your power is immense, there is only so much one man can do against all of us together." Cha Jinhyuk gritted his teeth. "I was only trying to help." Cain gave a small, cruel smile. "It's not that we had anything against you personally. Let's just call it weeding out the unnecessary." Jinhyuk's gaze darkened. He turned toward Choi Gyeon-hoon, the strongest combatant among the 9 stars and the one person who hadn't participated in clearing the 600th floor. If anyone had been his true friend, it was him. "Gyeon-hoon, did you know about this?" But there was only silence. The others did not answer. They all knew the truth. If Choi Gyeon-hoon had been there, he would have fought to protect Jinhyuk. That was why they had kept him away. Moments later, Jinhyuk's vision blurred. Blood poured from his wounds, his strength fading. As he lay dying, his last words rang through the battlefield. "Don't think this is the end. I will return, and when I do, I will have my revenge." And then he died. Now, 10 years later, he was alive again. The pain of betrayal burned fresh within him. His fingers clenched into fists as his bloodlust surged. "If I find any of them, I will not just turn them into my summoned beasts. I will grind their very souls, so they will never reincarnate. And then, his phone pinged with a message, "Good morning." He picked it up, looked at the screen, and liked the message. As his eyes drifted toward the date, a wave of realization hit him. It was already 2023. 10 years. It's already been 10 years, he muttered. It felt like only moments had passed. His thoughts shifted suddenly. Wait, I don't even like these skills. Then, a more pressing concern entered his mind. Can I even use magic in this new body? Without wasting a second, he jumped to his feet and began testing his abilities. Awaken! Aweo! He shouted, attempting to summon any trace of power, but nothing happened. No surge of energy, no flicker of magic. That was when he realized there wasn't a single drop of magic in this body. He turned toward the window, his gaze locking onto the distant tower. A troubling thought crossed his mind. Will I have to climb that tower without any skills? Then, another question followed. 10 years have passed. Did those bastards reach the top? Determined to find out, he grabbed his phone and searched for information. The latest reports revealed that the 9 stars had only reached the 800th floor. A smirk curled on his lips. This is my chance. Even though his new body was weak, his knowledge remained intact. That alone was enough. He would use his experience as Cha Jinhyuk to recover quickly. Without hesitation, he took off toward the tower. When he arrived at the entrance, he found a massive crowd gathered, each person filled with different thoughts and ambitions. Some dreamt of riches, others of fame, and some simply sought power. If you reach the top floor, you get everything you desire, someone in the crowd said. Another voice scoffed, you'll probably die on the first floor. The tower had become a place where dreams and desires were collected, a beacon that called to all who dared to challenge it. Then, as the clock struck 1 p.m., the doors of the tower creaked open. One by one, people began stepping inside. Cha Jinhyuk clenched his fists. It's time to take my revenge. He entered the tower and headed straight to the tutorial stage. At the tutorial stage, an announcement was made. There is no other place where you will experience a level of difficulty like this stage. The first challenge was a path filled with traps, a course that would take more than a day to complete. According to the comments from other challengers, it was widely regarded as the most ridiculous of the first 10 stages. Then, an objective screen appeared in front of him, displaying the stage's goal. Reach either the destination or return to the starting point. All damage will be recovered. Moving closer to the screen, he examined his body stats. His qualities were displayed, including name, class and subclass, agility, intelligence, and physical attributes, mana type, traits, gluttony, and a second trait marked with a question mark. He was shocked by the displayed gluttony trait and his mana type physical attribute. These qualities were completely different from what he had before his death. But instead of panicking, he decided to make full use of them. Without hesitation, he started the stage. The moment he stepped off the starting point, a magic arrow was triggered. These arrows were unique. They were only visible at the moment of firing. Once shot, they vanished completely. As he dodged, he quickly realized something. Knowledge alone wouldn't be enough to survive. Isn't this a bit much for welcoming a new challenger? He muttered in frustration. Before he could react further, several arrows struck him, forcing him to push forward. Eventually, he reached the starting point, where all his damage was healed. Gritting his teeth, he muttered, "Let's see how far I can go with this, and how long I can endure, because this pain is unbearable." After standing still for a moment, he suddenly remembered one of the traits that made him the greatest climber of the tower: gluttony. Gluttony, the ability to devour non-living things and make them his own. His gaze dropped to the ground, where his own blood was spilled. Blood is non-living, he thought. So what happens if I consume it? Without hesitation, he tasted his own blood. Immediately, a notification appeared on the screen. Tolerance level has increased. The message listed pain resistance, unconsciousness resistance, blood loss resistance, and penetration resistance. Seeing his attributes increase, he made a bold decision. He started running forward again, deliberately taking hits from the arrows. Whenever the pain became too much, he would retreat to the starting point to recover. Each time, his tolerance level increased further. He repeated this process again and again, enduring the excruciating pain. When the tolerance level reached completion, the tutorial stage was finally over. To his shock, he realized that he had spent a full month in this one stage. The moment he cleared it, a message appeared on the screen. The gods and demons are interested in your method. He turned back and saw them watching him. His expression darkened, and with a bitter smirk, he muttered angrily, as expected. This always happens when they see someone similar to them. Then, another message appeared on the different screens. Frowny face, a god is angry at your profanity. A demon is amused by your profanity. He scoffed. Even though he had performed well in the tutorial, it seemed there was no intention of scouting him. Suddenly, another message appeared. A demon seems to be smiling at you. Then, another line followed. The peak of all evil greets you. How have you been? His eyes widened, and he shouted at the screen, Ball, it's you again, you stalking bastard. Ball, a demon who had pursued him endlessly in his past life, trying to make him his disciple. Did Ball recognize him even now? Then, he remembered the soul transmission spell that saved his life. Ball had been the one who granted him that ability. More notifications followed. A god is interested in you. A demon is interested in you. He clenched his fists. Of course, it's because of the peak of all evil that both the gods and the demons are paying attention to me. One of the gods questioned his relationship with Ball, while a demon was offering words of comfort. At the same time, the peak of all evil was now apologizing. Frustrated, he shouted at the screen, All of you, shut up. Did you really think I'd go under any of you? Then, with a smirk, he added, If you want to see who I'll follow, then just observe in secret. Watch closely. Immediately, the peak of all evil began sulking. Ball spoke again, attempting to persuade him, but before he could finish, he cut him off. If you think I'd choose you, then let me make this clear. My answer is definitely a no. Ignoring them, he turned back to his reward for completing the tutorial stage. A message displayed. Your strength, agility, and intelligence have increased significantly. Your tolerance for pain, unconsciousness, penetration, and blood loss has also increased. You have acquired additional mana, something extremely difficult to achieve at this stage. His progress was so immense that it triggered the unlocking of a new trait. Curious, he checked his status window. Aside from gluttony, a new trait had appeared, all round. Excited, he tapped on the new trait for more details. All round, a trait that enables the user to learn and master anything, regardless of technique. His lips curled into a smile. With this trait, I should be able to clear the stages without a problem. Then, another message appeared. The peak of all evil is curious about your current status window. His excitement faded slightly, replaced by confusion. Why? Why is Ball so interested in my status? He told the peak of all evil to forget it and not to bother him, then added that he was moving on to the next stage and that if he wanted, he could follow. Without hesitation, the peak of all evil followed him to the next stage. As Jinhyuk continued forward, he muttered, The next stage should be the stage of choice and training. Upon entering the training room, the system announced, Choose any weapon you would like to use. Scanning the vast collection of weapons, Jinhyuk recalled how, in his past life, he had chosen a weapon without hesitation, already knowing his mana type. But now, he was uncertain about his choice. After some thought, he picked up a bow and arrow and said, I'll test the all-round trait. He instructed the system, generate a target. The system complied, and a target appeared. Jinhyuk fired arrows at it, observing his accuracy. Then, he requested, generate a target that can fight back. The system hesitated. That would be too dangerous. Jinhyuk scoffed. I don't care. The system generated the targets, and they charged at him. He responded immediately, firing back at them. After finishing off all the summoned enemies, he demanded a harder challenge. The system complied, generating an even stronger target, the most powerful that could be created at this stage. As the enemies rushed at him, some flying, some attacking from the ground, Jinhyu quickly realized they were about to overwhelm him. He activated his specialty, sending out a barrage of magic arrows, striking all of them at once and annihilating them instantly. He grinned, satisfied. The power of the all-round trait is incredible. It feels like I've been doing this for years. A system notification appeared. Achievement unlocked. All-round mastered stats attack. The all-round mastered stats attack required him to use different weapons in each room he entered during the choice and training stage. A system prompt appeared. Would you like to select the all-mastered class? Yes or no? A warning followed. If you do not choose now, you will never be able to select it again. Jinhyu pondered. This is a huge advantage. Choosing the all-mastered class would be the best option for me. He agreed to select the class as a subclass, but the system rejected his request. You cannot unlock a subclass until you clear the 100th floor. However, selecting a primary class is mandatory before leaving this room. Jinhyu frowned and asked, "Can I use accomplishment points?" The system hesitated. How does a beginner know about that option? Using accomplishment points, an individual could modify system mechanics. Jinhyuk's knowledge surprised the system, but he remained firm. Can I use 5,000 points? The system responded, still in disbelief. Making use of accomplishment points allows an individual to alter the system, but it was clear that the system hadn't expected someone at his level to know such a high-level feature. Jinhyuk requested the system to use 5,000 points, assuming that it would be enough to unlock the subclass slot. However, the system responded, "That will not be possible." Then, the system displayed his accomplishment points. He had 5,000 points, but the requirement was 5,050 points. Frustrated, he turned to the peak of all evil, Baal, and asked, "How many accomplishment points are given to those who speak with a god for the first time?" Baal smirked and replied, 200 points. Instantly, the points were added, unlocking the subclass slot. Without hesitation, Jinhyuk selected the all-mastered class as his subclass. A system notification appeared. Break the wall beneath you to enter level 1. Jinhyuk raised his staff and slammed it into the ground. The floor shattered, and he was transported to the first floor, Coral Forest. As he descended, his eyes locked onto his first prey, kobolds. Without hesitation, he killed one instantly. And he bodied that two climbers already on the first floor, standing helplessly as kobolds prepared to attack them. Cha Jinhyuk landed in the front of the two climbers, facing the kobolds smirking. He muttered, "I wonder what I will earn if I kill both of you kobolds." Amazing! He defeated a kobold in one kick. "I think his class is a mage," one of the guys whispered in shock. The second guy added, "I don't know him, but I'm sure if we combine our strength." "Get lost," Cha Jinhyuk interrupted. "What?" both of them exclaimed at the same time. Jinhyuk turned his gaze toward them. "None of you are allowed to touch the kobolds. They're mine." Reluctantly, they nodded. "Fine, we'll stay out of it." Turning back to the kobolds, Jinhyuk smirked. "Well, are you going to avenge your fallen comrade?" The creatures let out a shriek before charging toward him. As one lunged forward, it suddenly stopped right in front of Jinhyuk. "Huh," he muttered. "Why did it stop?" Then, without warning, the kobold turned around and ran away. Jinhyuk chuckled. "Coward." With a quick motion, he fired a magic arrow, piercing through the fleeing creature. The system notification appeared. "Welcome to the first floor?" Jinhyuk scoffed. "Too late. I already killed the kobolds before you even welcomed me." The quest for the first floor was displayed. Defeat 10 kobolds. Jinhyuk read the message and smirked. If it was 100, I'd still clear it in this current state. His real goal was something greater. I need to earn the Slayer achievement. He had obtained this title in his past life. He was determined to get it again. To earn the Slayer achievement, a climber must kill 1,000 of the same beast. With that in mind, Jinhyuk activated his gluttony trait and consumed the fallen kobold. Suddenly, memories flooded his mind. He could see through the kobold's past experiences. Even more shocking, he had gained the ability to understand the kobold language and inherited its strength. His status window appeared. Strength and attributes increased to that of a level 10 climber. It felt as though he was receiving bonuses from every class at once. The kobold's memories continued to flow, and he saw something unexpected. A kobold lord was holding humans captive. Jinhyuk grinned. Perfect. This will help me farm kills and reach the Slayer achievement faster. However, if he wanted to fight an entire wave of kobolds, he needed an army. Extending his hand, he activated his power. The dead kobolds around him began to rise again. Class changed. Necromancer. Since he was in the All-Master class and retained his past life memories, he could freely switch between classes. But Jinhyuk wasn't satisfied. There are still many more classes I need to unlock. He turned to his undead kobold warriors and commanded them, kill every living kobold you see. Then, he set off toward the kobold lord's location, which he had seen in the kobold's memories. As he approached the building, he ordered his undead soldiers to wait outside. At this point, his kobold army had significantly increased. When he entered the building, he froze. It wasn't just a base, it was the hidden classroom of the first floor. His eyes widened as he took in the crystals scattered across the floor. Necromancy was a high-ranking class, but within the tower, there was a greater power, Spirit Masters. Suddenly, Jinhyuk noticed something. At the center of the room lay a coffin. He stepped forward and opened it. Inside, a skeletal figure slowly emerged. It opened its glowing eyes and spoke. "My name is Vulcan." The first Spirit Master had awakened. It looked directly at Jinhyuk and asked, "Are you my descendant?" The Spirit Master stared at Jinhyuk and repeated his question, "Are you my descendant?" Jinhyuk wasn't surprised. He simply looked at the skeleton and said, "Vulcan, huh?" Vulcan was shocked. "You're not even surprised to see me?" He adjusted his posture. "I always make a grand entrance, but now this just feels awkward." Jinhyuk smirked. Should a necromancer be afraid of a skeleton? He crossed his arms and added, "Besides, I just finished reading your journal before coming here. I've passed the stage of being surprised." The hidden item, Journal of Spirit Master Vulcan, was in his possession. In his past life, he had foolishly changed his class to mage, losing all his worth. That was when he realized the importance of the journal. That was why he had returned to the first floor, although he hadn't read it yet in this lifetime. Then, he spoke again. "After I became a Spirit Master, I failed to make you my summoned spirit." Vulcan tilted his head. "Is that so?" Then, he chuckled. "I like you. You're different from that bastard who was here 10 years ago." Jinhyuk frowned. "Bastard?" A thought crossed his mind. Should I destroy this annoying skeleton? But he quickly shook his head. "Not yet. I'll deal with him after I change my class." Instead, he asked, "I want to change my class. Can I do that here?" Vulcan's response was immediate. "Impossible. You can't change your class at this level. You'll need to reach the 10th floor where the class change room is located. Otherwise, you have no means of changing classes." Jinhyuk smirked. "Is that so?" Without another word, he opened his status window the moment Vulcan saw it. He froze. "Wait, you're already a necromancer?" Jinhyuk nodded. Vulcan's jaw nearly dropped. "How?" "You've only cleared the first floor." Jinhyuk shrugged. "I guess I'm just talented." For the first time, Vulcan was speechless. Jinhyuk sat down on the floor as Vulcan tried to process everything. Vulcan had once been the strongest necromancer, the first climber to ever control the tower. But as time passed, he sought greater power. He summoned the bones and skins the dead, but it wasn't enough. Instead of summoning liches or death knights, he wanted something stronger. Eventually, he realized what he truly needed: souls. Through countless experiments, he surpassed all existing summoning techniques and became the first Spirit Master. But his body reached its limit. As the Spirit Master class was on the verge of disappearing, he made a decision. He used necromancy on himself. He had done so hoping that one day, his descendant would reclaim his honor. Finishing his story, Vulcan sighed. The last person who came here was the second Spirit Master. Then, he grinned. "And now you are the third." Jinhyuk's smirk widened. "You're mistaken." "Huh?" Vulcan blinked. "I'm not the third Spirit Master." Vulcan's eyes narrowed. "Then what are you?" Jinhyuk chuckled. "The second." Vulcan's eyes widened in horror. "No way." You're the punk from 10 years ago. Jinhyuk grinned. Took you long enough to figure it out. Before Vulcan could react, Jinhyuk pulled out an item. Soul Crucible acquired. Vulcan flinched. What are you doing? Jinhyuk's grin grew wider. The first soul I'll capture is you. Vulcan panicked. Wait. The moment he tried to escape, magic walls surrounded him. You're using a low-class magic wall to hold me? You think this will work? Vulcan scoffed. Jinhyuk smirked. You don't understand what's holding you, do you? Vulcan's expression changed. What do you mean? Jinhyuk explained, these aren't just ordinary magic walls. They're reinforced with cobalt mana stones I collected on my way here. Vulcan struggled against the magic wall, but Jinhyuk shook his head. You could have broken through before you got trapped, but now that you're inside, it's too late. Vulcan's eyes widened in horror. How does a first-floor beginner have such knowledge and skill? Jinhyuk removed his head covering and looked Vulcan straight in the eye. I failed in my previous life, but this time I won't. Vulcan stared at him in disbelief. Finally, realization hit. You're really that punk? Jinhyuk smirked. So, should I consider myself the second spirit master, or will you acknowledge me as the third? Vulcan let out a defeated laugh. Cha Jinhyuk, you bastard. With a wave of Jinhyuk's hand, Vulcan's soul was absorbed into the soul crucible. As the process was completed, Jinhyuk smirked. Now that you're with me, everything I wanted will find. As Cha Jinhyuk stepped out of the hidden classroom, his summoned kobolds were already waiting for him. A notification appeared on the screen. The peak of all evil is staring at you. The death-observing demons are curious about your level. Jinhyuk chuckled. Relax. Gods can't enter the class-changing room. I'll show you my level soon enough. Standing in front of his undead kobolds, he realized something. I don't need an army anymore. Instead, he activated his power and summoned Vulcan as his first spirit soldier. To his surprise, Vulcan appeared in a form resembling a human. Jinhyuk raised an eyebrow. This is the first time I've seen you like this. You must have been handsome when you were alive. Vulcan scoffed. Don't underestimate the power of the first spirit master. A second later, he started coughing violently. Jinhyuk smirked. Don't overdo it. You're only alive because of my mana. If I take it back, you'll disappear. Vulcan crossed his arms. Did you really think I'd obey you like a dog? Jinhyuk tilted his head. What choice do you have? He smirked and continued. Tell me, what do you usually do with familiars who refuse to obey you? Vulcan's expression darkened. Jinhyuk continued. Do you turn them into soul orbs and absorb them? Then, his smirk widened. Or did you forget? One of my traits is gluttony. Vulcan's eyes widened in fear. You possess that insane trait? A shiver ran down his spine. If he didn't obey, Jinhyuk could devour him entirely. Vulcan sighed. Fine, what's the plan? Jinhyuk simply raised his hand, pointing at something in the distance. Vulcan followed his gaze and froze. Wait, you're aiming for the Kobold Lord already? Jinhyuk smirked. Exactly. He approached the massive building in the center of the Kobold territory. 2 kobolds guarded the entrance, but before they could react, his undead kobolds attacked. Above them, dozens of kobolds appeared on balconies, spotting the commotion. In an instant, they rushed down to fight. Jinhyuk remained calm. Kobolds aren't even a challenge anymore. He turned to his undead soldiers. Bring me to your lord. One of the living kobolds panicked and rushed inside. Inside the Kobold Lord's chamber, the creature sat on its throne. A kobold messenger knelt before him. My lord, there's an intruder. The Kobold Lord's expression twisted in rage. An intruder? Then, his eyes narrowed. Quickly, prepare the offering. Back outside, Jinhyuk had finished wiping out the kobolds. As he stepped forward, he felt a powerful aura. A notification appeared on the screen. The peak of all evil is cheering for you with a light baton. Jinhyuk sighed. I don't need encouragement from an old man with hairy legs. Then, his expression hardened. Not that it matters. I was going to win anyway. Inside, the Kobold Lord stood before an altar. A sacrifice had already been made. A lifeless human lay on the ground, but the offering wasn't enough. A deep voice echoed from the darkness. "I require more." The Kobold Lord turned toward a second captive, a young girl with horns. Jinhyuk's eyes narrowed. A Dakibi? Dakibi were legendary creatures from Korean mythology. The Kobold Lord grabbed her by the neck, lifting her into the air. His eyes gleamed with excitement. A demon's descendant, a much better offering than a mere human. The moment he raised his weapon to strike, Jinhyuk acted instantly. With a flick of his wrist, he threw his sword. The blade sliced through the air, forcing the Kobold Lord to release his grip. Jinhyuk took a step forward and smirked. "Look what we have here. A human sacrifice? Or a summoning ritual?" His eyes gleamed with amusement. "Well, either way, you're going to fail."